Good morning. I'm Marcus Timson. I'm one of the founders of FuturePrint, and a warm welcome to you all joining us today for the first AI for Print conference. I think it's going to be a really interesting day, not least because I think we're all wondering what exactly is the opportunity or threat of AI. So today we're going to have an opportunity to hear from a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different industries, and not just from the UK, also we've got speakers from outside the UK as well. Just a few slides to get us going. Of course, we don't exist as a business without our partners and our sponsors who support what we do. And a big thank you goes out to all of those, of course, who are hugely innovative and supportive and dynamic and collaborative, many of which are here. So I hope you get to meet many of them today and have some really interesting conversations. Not least, I hope today sparks ideas, inspiration, energy, thoughts that you didn't have before you came, because at the end of the day, we have a whole digital world out there and we spend a huge amount of time on. There's something special about events, isn't there? There really is something special you cannot replicate online. So I really hope the networking is fantastic. We've got plenty of opportunities for talks and so on. If you haven't already worked out, the coffees and that are in the Tower Lounge and Bar, one floor up. It's a bit confusing. By the time you get up there, you're kind of a bit disoriented, but it's all up there, some great coffee and a nice space to network. So anyway, yes, thank you again to our sponsors. So here we are, the first AI for Print conference we've ever run. It's been an interesting process building the program, because I haven't really know where to go to ask people to speak. So it has been a sort of a little bit of a fishing expedition, I guess, because it's trying to work out who's got a story, who's got a viewpoint. So you hear from a mixture of people that have maybe products, but also people that have views, all of which are valid and interesting. It's such an evolving space, a fast evolving space. So yes, the reality is AI is at the summit of Mount Hype, isn't it? It's suddenly reached this place where people like the BBC and all the other media outlets are talking about AI on a virtually daily basis and about what it can and can't do, what it might and might not do. It's an exciting time, but it's important for us to remember that new tech, when it kind of breaks through into our kind of consciousness, it does go through a hype cycle. So there is always, this is the very famous Gartner hype cycle. And I want to compare it in a way, and a bit of a reality check. In 2012, 3D printing did a similar thing. It was suddenly the doyen of the kind of media. The media were obsessed with it. Everybody was going to have a 3D printer in the home. Everybody is never going to need anything again because you'd just be printing it. And it was crazy. There was all these events, and it's exciting. And investors clamored for it. And it basically went up. That 3D printing really went, same thing, at the top of the hype cycle. So I think today is important that it's not about the hype. It's about behind the hype, and about how we can really get to the reality of what the opportunity AI is. The reality is too, with 3D printing, of course, it fell off its perch, didn't it? It suddenly went, I'm talking here about consumer 3D printing. And I think the reality is, with that kind of technology, you do need to be pretty technical to operate it. You do need to be pretty patient with it, pretty tolerant of its imperfections. And what happened is it fell down into the trough of disillusionment. And that trough of disillusionment didn't really come out, the 3D printing technology didn't really come out. So what's going to happen with AI? Is that going to happen with AI too? It's suddenly going to disappear from our consciousness, the media will get bored of it, and people will start talking about something else. It could happen. I do think there's a fundamental difference, but the reality is that AI is at the very top, generative AI, of its hype cycle. One of the key differences is, though, we can all play with AI. I mean, I think we all know about ChatGPT and OpenAI. We can all play with it. We can all use the functionality. It's very easy. It's very accessible. It's not expensive. You don't need an engineering master's to operate it. So it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. But I think us humans, When we don't understand something, we become frightened of it. The famous story of Frankenstein is obviously a made-up story. It isn't real, but the point is that the opportunity of that creation wasn't necessarily sinister, yet our fear of that creation led to lots of negative chain reactions and instances. So just because we don't understand it, we shouldn't be frightened of it. We were frightened of electricity, we were frightened of trains, we were frightened of all of the things that came and we now become to depend on. I also think the media narrative likes to talk about the negative aspects of it, and surely there are. But the reality is, I think there's so much more to gain from AI. A great example of how humans can become fearful and angry is the Luddites. During the Industrial Revolution, obviously the mass manufacturing removed craft industries and lots of livelihoods. And the Luddites, led by I don't even know if he was real, but a fictional character called Ned Ludd, responded very angrily and tried to destroy the machinery and abuse the people to stop that revolution happening. And Luddites became a term, really, to describe people that just do not like change. And my view is, I guess, inconvenient change is exactly what it is, inconvenient. But if we're flowing with that change, we're part of it. It might require us to be flexible, learn, and be adaptable and all of those things. But the reality is, it's better to be that than be one of these sort of laggards that changes only when they have no other alternative. The reality is, Western Europe or the Western world is suffering a massive dip in birth rate. It's quite shocking, actually. It's like, you look at the numbers, it's I think it's 62. There was over 21 per thousand, and now we're under 10, and it's predicted to go down and down and down. There are fewer people to do the work. It's quite shocking. And not only that, during COVID, there was this thing called the Great Resignation, where all of the kind of experienced expert level people just thought, oh, you know what, I'm just going to retire early and leave the industry. Building this event was interesting. So many people in my LinkedIn network have said, no, I've left the industry. No, I've left the industry. I'm no longer in the industry. It's a reality. There are fewer people generally, and there are fewer people because many have left the industry. And I guess there's two things we can do is try to address that by going on a massive recruitment drive to capture the attention of people. But these people are so distracted, aren't they? The Gen Z community, or the Gen Z generation rather. And frankly, is print even on their radar? Really? Is it? I mean, we've got all of these other things to distract them, not least things like AI, social media, green tech, lots of other things, pharmaceutical, life sciences. Print, which might seem in their mind, wrongly or rightly, a little bit of a traditional old industry. How do we arrest the attention of these people? Or do we use clever technology to solve that problem? Because we have clever people in our industry, we are incredibly advanced, we have the opportunity with things like AI, automation, machine learning, whatever it might be, to solve the problem we have with fewer people by using and embracing and seeing the opportunity of this tech. So I hope today is an opportunity for us to answer some of these questions like, what the is AI? Demystify it, to have a bit of a better understanding of it. Is it Frankenstein's monster, or is it actually a key to the future, or is it something in between? I know there's lots of ethical considerations, there's lots of legal considerations, but those things get solved in time. What could it give us? Is it creativity, or is it productivity, or is it both? What is the value of it? What are the risks? And what are the learning? I think that's the point. We just need to realise we don't know, and we just got to learn, and learn as we go. And so that's why we thought we'd run this event. And I have to say a big thank you to the team here, because we had the idea to run it only maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and we're getting to run it here. And thank you for supporting it, being inquisitive and curious people that you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So I'm sure we're going to have some great chats. What also examples of success can we share? Sharing those kind of things. But first off, what I'd like to do is introduce our first speaker. Mr. Finn Carson has got a very interesting business model. He's also unusual in our usual speaker profile in the fact that he's actually under 30, which is pretty stunning. So we're going to get a young, I don't think you're quite a Gen Z, are you? Or maybe a millennial, I don't know. I don't want to label you either. But we're going to get a really, really good talk that isn't print centric. It's about his business called Knowledge Brief that he's launched. He makes some really insightful, incisive films about change and about how things are affecting and so on. So he's a brilliant first speaker. So thanks, Finn, for being part of today. And I'd like now to hand over to you. So give Finn a welcome, please. Thank you.